are you helping people to balance their energies and align with the path that they meant to walk in life? So would you give us an example of what do you do with people? What do you do in your sessions?
It's interesting how people come to me for sessions because typically, people think that they have a need and they're feeling like, oh, this is what I need. And when they come, it's actually I always try to take people to their roots. That's one thing. And from their roots to their beginning is where you find your answers. At least for me, it's been this way. And I don't know if I have shared the story about, right now I'm an orphan because both of my parents died. But through meditation and working, with Akashic records and healing and angels, it came to me that, as far as lineage, I come from a lineage of orphan children that come from, this is something that is like a woo woo, subject, maybe a little bit weird, but, I just have to share it.
Mystical, we call it.
Something that's inside of me.
Mystical.
So the lineage of children that come from other families and they go from one life to another, to another, to another, as far as the Akashic records, like in the cycle of dharma and karma, and you reincarnate, in the wheel, and you go from one life to another, and you belong to a lineage of children that have been orphans. It comes to a point where your vibration, as far as a person, as a soul, you go into one life where you are being the parent, where you become the parent of your parents, and you start to play a different role. And even though you're a child, in my case, uh, I don't know if I told you that my mom, when I was about 3 years old, lost her sight, so she couldn't see. So I became about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, I became her walker. So that was my first job, to be the eyes of my mother so she could walk and work, and take care of all her other children. So I was like, she would talk to me in the morning and we'll have this routine where I will go with her, help her. So she will do all those things, even putting makeup, getting ready for the day, cooking the meals for my brothers and sisters, and so on and so forth. So I was her eyes, but I was also her walker. I was her advisor. So this lineage of children that come, from even from other planets, I'll say, they would come to this planet to serve as far as energy. We have lived so much, so we are very old souls that have come here to the planet in service. So I started working on a project that is called Orphan Family Fellowship, that is for people who feel like that have suffered, losing their family or losing their parents, but it's dedicated, the idea that I have is dedicated or focused to support children that have no money to pay for their school. Because in my case, I started very, very little working so I could pay for my school. So it was either you work and you give money to the house so you can sustain our family, because we were so many right now, 57 children. Imagine that, 10 wives, only one father. So even though he was rich, because he was a millionaire, he had many businesses, he was very rich, but he only had certain families where he will be, giving money to. And the rest of the other families, the other wives, they had to work, and the children. So for us, working, it was something natural that we needed to work. So we had this choice, I asked my father, I asked my mom, I want to be an engineer, I want to study. Actually, I wanted to be a scientist, not an engineer, yeah, and an astronaut. So my calling was to become an astronaut. So Mexican astronauts, not so many. Mexican scientists, maybe, but back then I was so little and I had no grasp of the limitation of this is what you can be, this is what you can do. And I always say that I wanted to be an archaeologist because I love stones and minerals and fossils. So I had to pay for my school. So I started very, very little working, and my first job, my first official job was to be the walker of my mom, but I was also her advisor, her administrator. I helped her with the money to organize. And also when she was doing sales, because we were always selling something, either food or something for entertainment. So we go to these parties and we organize entertainment. So we were always putting, food and candy and things that cakes, and people, wanted to eat something. So that was our thing to do. And I started very, very little in sales. So even though I started a career that is technology, I was always trying to invent something. So I'm also a scientist, an inventor, a creator. So even though I don't own the patents for the things that I have created as a science person, I've done many things, many crazy things. Like ultrasonic welding, first diapers that were created that, like, they pull up and down. The pull up. I always say as a joke that I'm the granddaddy of that technology. My friends laugh at me like, "You're too young to be a granddad," but at 32, I was already the granddaddy of many things like that. So